So a lot of people ask me what I use in the field when I'm photographing wildlife or landscapes or doing portraits. This is a little bit of my gear. The majority of the things you see on the table are from Nikon, so I'm a diehard Nikon fan. That's actually how I became a photographer. Somebody bought me a digital Nikon camera. I was a member of a photography club in high school, learned the old school way with the darkroom and film. And because someone gave me this gift, I ended up taking a digital photography class. And that class changed my life. This is my Z9, my latest camera. This one is always in the vehicle and out in the field. I prefer not to shoot with really big 400mm lenses like a lot of the other photographers use. First, because I can't hold it all day. So for me to get a really nice clear picture, I use the 70-200. This image here, this is with the 70-200. These lines are playing in the water. It almost looks like this cat is actually running on top of the water. You've got movement, you've got stillness, you've got the beautiful reflections in the water, and you can see that the water here is all splashing behind this lioness. I prefer to shoot animals in the landscape where you're showing the environment and the animal, because that's part of my mission, is to show wide open spaces and animals roaming freely in Africa. The next really cool lens that I use as a second go-to is my 14-24. This one I use for landscape, where I love to show the big expansive land with the sky. I always like to shoot in the wet season because I love to get those thunderstorm clouds, especially since I prefer black and white photography. And that moody expansiveness is so beautiful to capture for me. I love all the cameras, but especially for the kind of photography that I do, I like how my Nikon is able to capture color. The blue and the green on the natural settings without messing with anything on the camera. For me, I feel like what the camera is recording is what I'm seeing in the field. On the Canon camera, I personally see more of an orangey tone. I would actually have to go into my Nikon and pump that Kelvin. I prefer my Kelvin to be lower than 5,000 when I'm shooting, and I'm specifically trying to bring out that blue-green. You can see in this photo right here, I am looking to pull that blue-green out of the clouds. The photography with the Canon is absolutely beautiful as well, so it's more of a preference, and so this is my preference. This photo is in Botswana. It is of a baobab tree. When you are standing in front of a baobab tree, they are so ginormous that depending on what lens you're going to use, you can't get the whole tree into your composition. So what I like to do, because they're so interesting, I like to go to the base of the tree, look up, and I like to use that wide 14-24 again, the same lens that I like to do with the landscapes, with the clouds. So in this instance, when I get to photograph trees, I like to get that different angle of the tree with the branches up against the sky. So this is with a full frame camera as well, so you actually get a little bit more. So a 35mm camera wouldn't have that much room to be able to get that. So you'd have to adjust your body and how you're shooting something to get the same kind of image. It can be done, you just have to move further back to get that wider shot. One of my other really great cameras is now also shooting us from above. That one is my D5. So this camera and this camera are my backup cameras. If something happens to my main camera, which unfortunately, when you're out in the field and you're bouncing around in a safari vehicle and your gear drops down on the floor, you're gonna end up crying your eyes out if you don't have a camera. And if you're out for 3 weeks and your whole purpose is to take pictures, you really do need a good solid backup camera. I like to have several bodies with different lenses and focal lengths all together in the pockets of the vehicle.
Can you lean in a little towards Lisa?
So if I go from taking this photo, I can pick my camera up, shoot, put that right back down, and all of a sudden you've got an elephant charging you on the other side, and it's getting really close, and now I can pick up a wider lens and shoot that. So when I used to only have one body, I would lose a lot of shots, and what would happen is, like when you've got lions running at you, I can shoot them as they're coming, but then at a certain point, it's all blurry. This is where I've got too much lens. So using a big long lens inside the Beetle Cam, and I think that the reason I did that was because they flipped over and damaged my smaller camera and my smaller lens. We were going to leave. I didn't want to lose the shot, and so I was taking a risk. At least the SD card was going to survive. And it's too good of an opportunity to miss out on if I can't get these lions and interact with them a little bit. So this lion cub is batting the Beetle Cam and very curious about it. But my lens is so long that I'm unable to get a clear shot of the lion cub's face in front of the lens. It's just too close. So this is what I'm talking about when you have this incredible moment, but you're losing the clarity of the shot in the foreground. As we go down the line here, I have an old trusty Nikon point and shoot. Really good for street photography. People aren't going to be like, oh, photographer, and get shy. I don't want to lug around a big flagship camera. If I want to be a little less obtrusive as a photographer and people more comfortable with me, then I use one of the smaller cameras to walk around with. Over here, I have my Nikon binoculars. We ended up using it the other night where there's a dead impala. We're looking for the leopard, and it was just far enough away where we couldn't quite see clearly. It's imperative that you have a set of binoculars to see your environment. We have probably half a dozen GoPros or more that we use when we're filming. We rig them up onto the vehicles. We have clamps and all different things. We've even rigged them up to the tires of bush planes to get those flyovers of the savannah. So we just hook them up and blanket our vehicles to have them rolling, because you never know what's going to happen. If an elephant shows up, you might want to get that on camera. When I'm out in the field, my goal is to first create a relationship between me and an animal, if it's possible. I try to connect one-on-one with animals, and it's almost like asking permission. I don't like to be, on top of an animal and harassing it, chasing it down. If an animal is relaxed and calm and not in danger to itself, I'm more concerned about animals and their relationship to each other, and I'm close enough. Obviously, my 70-200 lens, I can zoom in and out to either get them in the environment or get some close-ups of them. So making eye contact with an animal and just engaging in this silent communion of, I'm here, I'm honoring you, you're beautiful, may I please take your photo? That's my recipe for a good photo.